speaking about lifting the mood and everything, we've said this a few times on here about Arsenal and Arteta. You can even see right now with the transfer window open, like he's clearly trying to get rid of a lot of players, and he's trying to completely shift the culture of the club to fit in his image, but also, you know, Arsenal's image, but in a different way, right? As you know, as other managers have done. And out of all, you know, out of all these teams I've got down here, Chelsea, United, Spurs, Arsenal, I think Arsenal, you know, need to understand that I think that's the club that needs the most work. I think there needs a lot change there, you know, right the way through that club, because you've seen it now that he's playing the young kids. They've come in and they've been way more into it than some of the big time pros, and that's not good when your big time pros are not looking as enthusiastic as your young kids are. They're looking comfortable. So I think Arsenal's the toughest job right now out of the quote unquote top clubs in the Premier League. 100%.
Yeah, it'll take him at least a couple of transfer windows as well.
Easy.
Get rid of who he doesn't want in there. Get a couple of bodies in, and then get them playing under his style. You've seen it already. Like we slated him on that podcast, but that week, if anyone watched that, they were so bad. They were lost. But then it makes a few changes to the squad, gets a few young lads in. They play how he wants to, and all of a sudden, 1 or 2 goals go in, and all of a sudden, heads go up. And
I think a big thing in anything in life, whatever you're doing too. But he had to just take a risk and change it and do something like play the young kids, and because it wasn't working with what he was doing before. And again, I think that's a sign of a good manager, of recognizing the situation and being like, I have to take a gamble here and do something because this isn't working. And right now it's paying off for him, right?
So the best thing I liked about Arteta was after a couple of those defeats, he took that all on him. He said, "Look, that was totally me. I got it totally wrong. It wasn't the players. That's on me."
And it's interesting that Lampard has done the opposite in a couple of games. He's blamed his players, which can work. You know what I mean? Which can work, but I don't like that. That's a very Jose Mourinho trait thing to do.
Cold shoulder and looking at Timo Werner doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to take that well. Like you're just I'm playing terrible and you're ripping me.
It was an interesting one from Lampard, but I spot on with what you said. He's not shied away from it, Arteta. In the last few weeks, he's stood up to it, and
that's the process, isn't it?
It is, absolutely, mate. I tell you what, one signing that they have made that has been absolutely fantastic is Kieran Tierney.
Yeah.
I mean,
how good was that goal last week?
The goal, the way
the
way he plays is, he just strikes me as the type of guy that doesn't matter where he's at, who he's playing for, how good or how bad it is, he's going to be the same on the pitch every single week. And they need to not necessarily build a team around him, but he's a character that you want to get more of those guys in your team, right? I mean, that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but it's
how good is it seeing a Scottish guy do that in the Premier League?
I know, man. I can't believe it. We have 2 world-class players and they're both left backs.
So Scottish, isn't it?
So Scottish, but I mean, he's been class. I remember watching the warm-up for the I think it was the Sheffield United game where it was snowing and he was in shorts and t-shirt and like it was just like so Scottish. It's it's a Scottish trait that from players to regardless of what's going on, be hard workers.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Knuckle down, get on with it, and that's the type of guys. That's the type of guy Arteta will love as well.
Yeah, you need that. You need that's the type of guys you need in your team to win.
Yeah, not harping on about him, but Yogi said when Rangers first signed Scott Arfield, he coached him at Falkirk, and he said he is the number 1 player you want in your team. Regardless of what you ask him to do, he will turn up, give 100%, and do whatever requires of that team.
Yeah,
he said he couldn't be any happier for Arfield signed for Rangers.
It's it's funny, obviously, massively to a different level. But speaking on that was one thing I did when I was coaching the kids too. Was I had some teams where some kids were not technically very good, and to be honest with you, probably struggled on the ball when they were in the game. But see, every time the game went on, I would play them the whole time because he's back. I would play them the whole time because I know what I'm going to get from them. Even as an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, I know for a fact he's going to run around the pitch for the whole game. He might not be good enough on the ball at this level, but you need that in your team. You need someone to rely on. Matthew, we're just talking about Arsenal and Arteta and how he's trying to shift the culture of the club. And we were just talking about how good Tierney's been in terms of his attitude. The last few weeks, he's been fantastic, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's only been good for a few. Like he's only been good for a few weeks, eh? But
yeah, but I mean,
well, sorry, me and Scotty were just saying, like, in terms of how he's always working on the pitch, though. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe he's not had great performances, but he doesn't shy away.
Do you want to know why though? It's because he's playing in a back four as a left back. That's what Tierney is, man. Like this whole back three playing as a wing back, on a back three playing as left side centre half. Those left back, left wing back, left side centre back, like they're way different. Like Tierney suits. He played at Celtic in a back four as a left back, right? Like a team that had lots of the ball. I just think like suddenly he's put into a position they feel like he wants to play, and I'm not surprised that now he start doing well. Like
play to your player's strengths.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I think we've had this debate many a time on here and off here. I'm not a fan of three at the back. I think it's really hard to coach. I mean, and even for high level professionals. And like again, I've said this a few times. Sometimes I think these days everyone's so into tactics and stats that managers sometimes just try and overcomplicate. And I agree with you, Matthew. Just play a fucking back four and put Kieran Tierney at left back. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be one of your top. In there.
Yeah, I understand that. Like I get what you're saying, but it's way more complex than that. You can't just be like, "Oh, Kieran Tierney's a left back, so I'm going to put my whole formation."
No, I know.
Like he's not like. He's not Messi, basically. Like you're not going to.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're building the team around Aubameyang or.
Yeah.
Someone else.
But it just seems that Arteta's now going to a back four for whatever reason, because the previous wasn't working, and it's just worked out that Tierney's now come into a bit of form simply because I guarantee if you would speak to him, he'd be like, I like playing in a back four. I wasn't too comfortable in that back three, or back five, or whatever.
Even and you know, in my opinion, this too. I mean, even City going back to 4-3-3. Is, for my opinion, is what has massively helped them in the last few games, because that's the system that Pep Guardiola grew up playing at Barcelona, grew up immersed in coaching at Barcelona, and you know, I'm not saying he can't ever play a different shape, and it changes as the game's going on. Don't get me wrong, but if you see that setup, it's a 4-3-3, and Kevin De Bruyne is a false nine, and that is Pep's bread and butter. That's what he knows what to do, and I just think that he went away from his principles a little bit, in terms of how he wanted to play. And that, I think people, you know, whether you're a football player, you're working at an office job and things are done this way and it's working, and you start to go away from your principles, people see that and they feel it, and they're like, what's going on here? Like, we're going away from everything that made us so successful. You know, adapt and evolve it, but.
Nah, definitely. Man City have definitely got a little something back, and just that 4-3-3 just looks class again.
Yeah, I mean, you buy players to suit a shape. Matthew, me and Scotty have already said our piece on it. You were obviously away. Just in general, before we move on from Arsenal, what do you think that their fans' expectations should be with Arsenal? You know, with Arteta being in charge of them in the next couple of years.
Or the next couple of years.
Yeah. Like what do you think Arsenal's expectations are? Where do you think they should accept to be?
I don't know what Arteta can do.
Is it unrealistic for them to be thinking, with the squad they have and a new manager, is it unrealistic for them to think that they should be definitely finishing in the top four?
I don't think they're top four. I think they've come away from that, and they've been away from it for a while, and it's a dangerous game. It's so hard to get back into that.
Yeah.
I think they'll suddenly right, Wolves have suddenly come into the Premier League, right, and now they're just up there and they're just consistent, right? I think they'll kind of be at that level. But I don't know. I don't really know what Arteta's capable of.
I think if they got into the top 6, that is a good achievement for them this season.
Oh, so if that's the question,
yeah,
if they got into the top 6, yeah, definitely.
I think that's a really good achievement. I don't think they should be too disappointed if they finish 7th, 8th, 9th. I think that I said this when you were away. You said about Man United. Arsenal need to accept they're not the same club that they were 15 years ago with Arsene Wenger challenging Man United every single season for titles with players like Thierry Henry playing.
I will say though, I do love Arteta's ruthlessness right now, saying like folk are coming out publicly and saying folk are leaving straight off the bat. Kolasinac goes on loan, that Saliba goes on loan. Like I'm all about that. I'm rating that. Remember we had an episode we spoke about you have to be ruthless at the top and that. Arteta's obviously getting rid of the fucking whatever, and he needs hopefully brings folk in.
And this is and this is my point: is you have to, as a club and as a fan base, you have to fully back him and agree and get on board with it. Because if you don't, it's not going to work, right? Whether you think it's right or wrong, every fan has a right to moan. You have your right to your own opinion, but deep down, you have to get behind him and back him.